Hey guys, we're live on the moon at 3 a.m. early Thursday morning, October 20th. And I'm going to conduct a survey in just a minute. But first, I wanted to take advantage of this shadow line. I've been trying to show you some things that when I can see them. And the last time I showed you Apollo 15 and Luna 2. Well, I'm going to show you something else. I'm going to show you two craters and a surveyor. First of all, it was it was pretty windy last night. I couldn't get out and do my thing. Sometimes the wind just gets to blowing and you can't do anything. Well, tonight's a dead calm, although it is cold. It's around 48 degrees on my porch, and I'm running this contraption from my desk inside a warm and cozy house. I'm pointing on the screen to a crater that I have talked about before many times. It's called Clavius. Now, Clavius is a pretty famous crater, one of my favorites because it has these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, you can see 6 little craters that are in a moon shape in the middle of the crater. Normally we can only see 1, 2, 3, 4, but tonight we can see 5 and 6 because we are, again, right next to this shadow line. Clavius is named for Christopher Clavius, who was a German mathematician between 1537 and 1612. Now you've been wondering distances, and I'm going to drop a distance on you now. The diameter of this crater right here is 245 kilometers. It's a rather large crater on the moon, and we've seen it several times. 245 kilometers is 152 miles. That'll give you kind of an idea of, in perspective, how wide this crater is. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you one more crater by name because it's a famous crater, and I'm going to show you where Surveyor 7 landed. If you go, normally, it's 3 a.m., the moon has rotated, and normally when we're looking at it in an early night, the moon would be, the Clavius crater would be south of north. So if you're looking at the moon early in the night, from the very top of the moon, look just down and you'll see this Clavius crater. The telltale sign, though, are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 craters inside. You're probably going to only see maybe 1 or 2 or maybe 3, or if you have a good telescope, maybe 4. If you go a little bit south of that, or 3 a.m. if you go west of that, the easiest thing is to look for these 3. See these 3 little, it's a perfect triangle in three craters that form a triangle. We're looking for this crater right here. This is called Tycho. I used to have when I was a kid, an HO train manufactured by Tycho. I guess that's where they got the name. Tycho was named for Tycho Brahe, a Danish astronomer from 1546 to 1601. See, most of these craters are going to be named after astronomers or mathematicians or some famous scientists of the past. Well, this is Tycho. Your reference point are the three little craters that form a triangle. At 3 a.m., if you go west, in the early evening, if you go south, you'll find Tycho south of Clavius. At 3 a.m., you'll find Tycho west of Clavius. See, the moon does rotate in the night. It rotates this way. If you look on a line from Clavius to Tycho, you'll see a small crater. Between that small crater and Tycho, right there, is the landing place of Surveyor 7. Now, what's interesting about Surveyor 7, it was the seventh and the last lunar lander of the American unmanned Surveyor program sent to the surface of the moon. It was launched in January on January 7th of 1968, and it landed on January 10th of 1968. And it took a total of 21,000 pictures and transmitted them back to Earth. Now let me show you what I've done. I've taken this is what we're looking at. It's called Surveyor 7. It was made in 1967. I graduated from high school in 1965, so this is my baby. And I went to a technical school for 2 years, Penn Technical Institute, and I learned how to fix televisions and everything else. And I graduated from Penn Tech in 1967. So this was launched on January 7th, 1968, landed on the moon January 10th, 1968. What's interesting about it, now you can see over here on my little moon, you see there's Clavius, there's Tycho, and there's that little crater. It landed right there between them. And it sent over 21,000 pictures back to Earth. Okay, I'm not going to dump you a whole bunch of facts, but I just wanted to show you the picture to make it a little bit more interesting. And if I had the Hubble telescope, I would be able to beam right in like Scotty on that Surveyor and probably show it to you up live and personal. Okay, that's a good start for a survey. Oh, and take a look here. 47 degrees outside, 48 degrees on my porch. I wasn't lying. It's cold outside. And that's why I'm sitting in here in a cozy, warm house on my desk running my telescope. Isn't that cool? See, guys, I have full control. I can move the telescope left, right, up, down. And let me show you something else. See this control right here? I can control the focus of the telescope directly from my computer screen. See, I drag it to the right because to the right is another monitor that you can't see. Not only that, but I have full control, camera control over the image. If I want to make the exposure dark or bright, overexposure, underexposure, you can see how I do it. Okay, let's see, you're learning a lot of things tonight. If you're new to my videos, I'd like to welcome you. My name is Bill Bryson, and I have a Celestron Nexstar 8 SE telescope, and I try to get out every night and do a survey of the moon. What I call a survey of the moon is basically a scan of the moon to see what's up, see if anything's changed. Okay, let's follow this shadow line right to left, and I'll drop the exposure down just a bit. Again, right there, that's where Surveyor 7, right there, is located. Oh, I wanted to point out one thing. If you look at that, what's interesting about where it landed, it looks like it landed on a slope. See, we have Tycho right there, and Tycho is a hornet nest crater. See how it comes up in the air, and see the slope. I think all is relative because it is. Tycho is, by the way, 102 kilometers wide or 63 miles wide. So we're talking about a big spread, and the distance between here and this crater is about 30 miles. So it's a distance between where I live in Houston, and it landed in the middle. Anyhow, interesting stuff. Let's begin our survey and see what we can see. See if anything's changed since the last time we took a peek, and see if anything unusual creeps up. I hope you guys are having a good week. Being 47, 48 degrees in my in Richmond area out of Texas, in Houston area, I mean, that's pretty cold for October, considering it was 96 degrees yesterday. This is a mar, or an ocean, or a sea. My contention is that these are somehow translucent crystal lakes. The scientists say they'll be filled up with sand. But I always see these things that kind of look like they're under the surface. See how it's just under the surface? If it was sand, I don't know, it just seems like it would blow around. It wouldn't be, it looks solid to me. the moon is rising later and later and later each and every day. We let me just pause right here. I see something interesting. Just a second. When you have to blow your nose, you hit the pause button. But I did see something interesting. Look at this thing right here. It's just a little strange. See those? See those like straight objects? Just kind of like over here. I've seen these before. These tubular-like objects. If we were closer, it would look like some weird-looking tubes. I don't know what they are, but they've always jumped out at me. And let me just try to expose. There you go. Just made it a little bit brighter. And see along the edge of the shadow line how when you do that, it does increase the you know the contrast. You can see more. It's interesting. Here you have a crater, but over here this is clearly a hornet-esque crater. See, you can see the edge sticking right up. Not only that, but look at that shadow. That's what shows you. See the shadow? You're looking at a crater that's sticking up out of the ground. Quite a bit of height. A lot more height than this one here. See, this one doesn't have hardly any shadow. Neither does this one. This one has a little bit, but this one has a lot. That's how you can tell about these craters. Some of them are flat on the surface, and some of them stick up and look like what I call hornet's nests. Every once in a while, I'm going to talk to you about a spaceship on the moon, or try to point out something. Now, let me let me pause right here and show you give you a good reason to know why. Surveyor 7 up there was in the shadow line, so I could really point out really where it was. But see, if it was over here or right there, see how it would be indiscriminately visible, because this is a distinct mountain range, yet you don't see very many details. The difference is as you get closer to the shadow line on the moon, you see more details. They jump out at you. So you'll see that I'll wait until something is close to this shadow line before I really show it to you. The other thing you'll note, see how it's bright right over here and it's clear right at the edge. Well, if I drop the exposure down, see how the detail, you could see more over here, but you don't see as much detail down here. So I try to do a happy balance. I was talking about the moon and how it rose in the sky. At the beginning of the month, the moon is up early, real early. And as the month goes on, like this is the 20th. And let me just pause right there, and we're going to look at this for just a second. It's a beautiful, beautiful picture. As the month goes on, the moon rises later and later and later. And the moon didn't even rise until after midnight tonight, to 1:30 or so. And then I was camped out on here trying to wait for it to settle down, just like I normally do. And as it did settle down, then then I could see more and more and more of it. This right here, by the way, let me just show you. This is part of that mountain range that I was talking about the last session. See these mountains right here? Guess what that crater is right there? Aristophanes. That's one of the craters that I showed you before. Remember I was talking about how the shadow line was creeping, and eventually we would cover that Apollo 15 and Luna 2 site? Well, that's exactly what's happened. These are the Alps. These are the what they call they have different names for them, by the way. Montes Peninius, but they're basically what I call the Alps, and you can see them actually even extending up the range. They aren't as high, but they extend even up further. So it's a defined mountain range, one of the most defined mountain ranges on the moon. And let me increase the exposure just a bit. And you can see we're seeing quite a bit of detail here. See the ripples in the Mar and the ocean. And you also find one other thing about this as we get into the night with this moon. There's not as much color on this moon as there was the other day. As it seems, my experience is as the night moves on, we see less and less defined color. And I think that's because of the reflection of the sun on the surface is not as bright, in particular because this moon right now is about a half moon. As you get into a full moon, a three-quarter moon, and a full moon, you see more and more color because there's more light on the moon. Let's just kind of pause and look at this too. This is really, really, really striking. Look at that picture. Isn't that incredible? You have the defined shadow line with the ripples, whatever they are, on a mar, on an ocean, on a sea. These craters here were clearly made after the sea hardened, whatever it was. I think it was a liquid of some kind at one time. Then it solidified, or who knows, and then the craters formed later. It's called Bill's Practical Geology of the Moon. And you astronomers out there and scientists are saying, Bill, you're full of crap. Yeah, I probably am. But I have a good time at it. Now look at this. Isn't this beautiful? A wonderful, wonderful mountain range right off the Mar. Look at that. That mountain range right there, even in the Mar, is higher than this one. It at least appears that way. And quite frankly, based on our distance, we learned from Tycho and everything, this is probably 60 miles, 63 miles. So this is probably maybe 30 miles. This is you get an idea of perspective better. Let me drop the exposure down just a little bit and a little bit more. See how I brought out some of the detail, over here. Okay, let's raise it back up. Let's continue our survey. Let's just look at this for just a second. I just am fascinated by the detail of these pictures. And this right here, see, I've never seen this before. You can see it's clearly pretty high because of that shadow line. And since we're up close to the shadow line here, the shadow of that mountain range never really, that is quite a bit higher though, it appears, than this mountain range over here. Interesting. These are really pretty good quality pictures, guys. Hope you enjoy them. Now this is an absolutely stunning picture. Let's just see if I can pause it right there. And let me drop the exposure down. See, when I did it, it kind of brought out some of the detail over. Isn't that beautiful? Absolutely beautiful. Okay, let's continue our survey. This right here, by the way, let me pause. That's high enough. I say that and I try to and see how it's, let me drop the exposure down again. You can see it just gets too bright. You can't see it. See this this promontory point. This actually is called right here. It's actually called a promontory. Matter of fact, all of these points that kind of stick out in these oceans are called promontories on the maps. But what's striking about them, and let me raise the exposure up again. It's, well, it actually looks like you were on Earth looking at an ocean with the landmass sticking out. So it looks like coastlands on the Earth. That's the way I've always looked at them. Okay, let's continue our survey. Turn up the exposure just a little bit. Isn't that beautiful? And here, right again, next to the ocean, was a mountain range. And then you can see how over here it's perfectly flat, the Mar, and then over here how you start seeing it's higher than the you could tell at one time it just had to be water or something. I'm pretty thankful that I have it set up the way I do right now. When it's this cold, it makes you appreciate. Let me turn up the exposure just a little. See how it's overpowering? There's another crater that we've seen before. It looks like a guy with a haircut that looks kind of weird. If that's his face and that's his haircut, see it sticking up. See, I just try to improve the quality of the image, but it's just, I'll drop the exposure down just a bit. Let me try one thing. I'm going to try to drop the gain down. That's a little bit better. Zillions and zillions and zillions of craters, guys. Again, drop the exposure down. Continue our survey. Sometimes you get on the moon and you just don't know what to expect, and you have to decide uh, whether to use a moon filter or not. And I personally don't like to use it because it seems to every time I do, I seem to lose some of the detail. Let me pause right here and try something. One of my friends on Facebook and YouTube, Henning, is he's really looking for blue. I think he's looking for oxygen. He's looking for the telltale sign of an atmosphere on the moon. He wanted me to do an experiment, so I'm going to do that for him right now. We're going to raise the exposure up on the edge. And look for a blue tinge, and I don't see it. He had an image the other night with a blue tinge right along that line, but I've just not ever seen it down here. You can see some blue going off. Now this telescope is a little bit more closer than his. Maybe that makes a difference. I don't know, but I can't see the same. I can't see the same effect. That, my friend Henning, is an experiment for you. If you were watching my videos the other day, though, I mean, I did a complete. I didn't do it on film. I didn't show it to you, but I did do a video of something that was off the edge of the moon because I was doing an experiment for Henning and I was blowing up the edge and I saw something and I know it wasn't a star. It had to be a UFO, but it was stationary. It was just real interesting. And that completes our survey. Let's do this. Let's wrap this up by going back down to our uh, Clavius. Right there is where that base was. I think it's either there or there, where I saw those all those flying saucers the other night. I was going to call them damn flying saucers, but you have to keep in mind if they are manned by fallen angels, they are damned to hell for sure. So they are damn flying saucers. In every sense of the word. Isn't that beautiful, guys? Old Bill's got a pretty good sense of humor, you got to admit. You might not agree with anything he says, but I've learned to laugh at myself, so there you go. And look at that right there, that promontory. See, it looks like a port town at the edge of an ocean. And actually, the names of these they're related to. Well, let me give you the names. The this particular point right here is called Promontorium Hercules. So it's the Hercules promontory, probably because it's the most pronounced on the moon. It looks like a. I've seen them in Henning's videos as well. It just looks like a port. It's called the Hercules promontory. And this one right down here is called the Laplace promontory. So I got Hercules and Laplace. And you wonder where they get these names. I know that there was such a thing as the Laplace formula in, yeah, it was named for Peter Simon Laplace, a French mathematician, astronomer. And this one up here is, it's not named after the Hercules. It's named after Hercules Pontius, Greek astronomer from three. He's named after Hercules. Okay, let's go back to our Surveyor. I don't want to make these any longer than they have to be. I go back and watch them though. I just it's relaxing to watch these things. And I think the moon is a fascinating place, and it's just, to me, very relaxing to. Let me turn the exposure up. There you go. Very relaxing to watch them. And I'll put there's the Clavius again, the Clavius crater. There's the Tycho crater. And the Surveyor 7 landing site from January 10th of 1968 is a beeline between this crater and this crater right there. Hey guys, you gotta have a good Friday, good weekend. I think tomorrow night's going to be clear again. We'll see. And I hope things are going your way. In the meantime, I wish you and yours clear skies, guys.